Hello and welcome to another episode. I am Brian, the Unskilled Commander. We got a new matchup for you. Decks you've seen, but new combination. We've got Sheoldred the Apocalypse, Unblockable Equipment, Rats, and Bruvac Mill. Gotta be honest with you, this game might be kind of quick because not only is Sheoldred going first, but Sheoldred's opening hand is actually pretty good. It's not optimal, but it's got like two really good cards for Sheoldred in it, and I was kind of surprised. I was like, oh well, crap, that could make things go exceedingly quick. Really, the only deck that could have had a better opening hand is if Bruvac had Maddening Cacophony in the opening hand, but I probably would have put that back into the deck and just grabbed the next card, simply because while you do have to get the lands in order to play it, overloaded or whatever that one is, it's still like I don't want these games to be 3 hours. I also don't want them to be 10 minutes. I want the game to be a game because that's kind of lopsided for what the point of the channel is. After we've said before, it's about getting better at Magic. It's about testing my decks, finding their weaknesses, getting to see all the cards ideally because you play them over and over again against each other, and then see where it can grow. If the game's over in like 10 minutes, then you don't get to see anything. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump in. We draw to start turn one over here, and we're going to play a swamp. That's all we got, so we'll go ahead and pass. Draw over here, play the island. Moving on. Draw over here, we'll play a Rogue's Passage. And pass. Draw, snow-covered island. Actually, you know what, we will, since I just drew that, we'll play Terramorphic Expanse, tracking it for a snow-covered island, and then shuffle the deck. No one drops, so we'll pass. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Play a swamp over here, and we will tap two for Lightning Greaves. That's one of the two cards that's really good for this deck. Lightning Greaves, equipped creature has haste and shroud, and it costs 0 to equip. So, theoretically, once we hit turn 4, get Sheoldred out, immediately go to equip it with Lightning Greaves, which gives it shroud and haste, so we could actually swing with a 4/5 Death Touch. But the shroud is more important because it can't be the target of spells or abilities. Now that's any spell or ability, including my own. But there's no real reasons to target Sheoldred otherwise in this deck. It's basically I have Lightning Greaves and I have Swift Foot Boots or the other one, whichever, the ones that give Hexproof and Shroud. For that very reason is just to protect it so someone can't target it and blow it up. Board Wipe still kills it, but otherwise they have to get rid of the equipment first, then blow up the commander, and allows it to stay on the field a little bit longer. We're going to pass. Untap, upkeep, draw. Island over here. I will tap two to play. Oh, actually, we will go ahead and play the commander. Tetsuko Umizawa the Fugitive. 1/3. Creatures you control with power or toughness 1 or less can't be blocked. Pass turn. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. We'll play a swamp over here. Tapping two. And playing a rat colony. Rat colony gets +1/+0 for each other rat you control. The deck can have as many rat colonies as you want. Now, there's not a crazy amount in here. It's not like there's like 40 rat colonies and maybe there should be. I don't know. Maybe that's the best way to build this kind of a rat deck. But knowing me, I like to keep fun cards in there too, and spells that buff other cards or do things and actually interact with itself. Not so much interacting with the rest of the board, which is a downfall of my decks. But I'm trying to work on that. And also, some decks I'm just letting it go because there's not one right way to make a Magic deck. Just because you see people talking about run more removal, run more answers, you don't have to if you don't want to. Just get with a play group that plays at your level. And I know it's easier said than done, but it's something, I'm trying to do as well and just, play with more different people and, find groups that, you can play those cards with and then go to a different group where you can play your optimized decks. But we're going to pass. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Snow-covered island. No two drops, so we'll pass. Untap, upkeep, and draw for turn over here. We will play a swamp, and then tap all three to play Liliana's Spectre. Flying 2/1. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. They'll discard a land over here. I guess we'll get rid of Blood Artist over here. That may backfire, I don't know. We'll go ahead and get rid of Chaos Wand. Fun card, but not expressly mill, really. That's all we can do from the Sheoldred side. We're going to pass. Untap, upkeep, draw. Island for turn. Tapping all three for Dream Shackle Geist, a flying 3/1. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to one. Tap target creature, or target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. We do have an unblockable 1/1 commander. Not that the commander damage is going to matter much. But, yeah, we'll go ahead and swing it at you because, well, I can swing it at anybody. We'll probably swing it at Sheoldred because we don't know what they have in their hand, but the Lightning Greaves is bad enough, and they made us discard a card. So they take 1 commander damage. I am not going to bother marking that. I do in most other cases, but I can't put equipments on Tetsuko because all the equipments in here are power heavy. They're +0 or +2, +0, +3, +0, etc. So it'll stop him from being unblockable, stop them from being unblockable. Although, and at the same time, they're really there just for the commander ability. So, but again, if you're going to beef it up, why wouldn't you swing it? And it just negates the whole premise. So we're going to go ahead and pass. So how are all of you doing? I've realized in the billions of episodes I've made, I've never actually asked, and that's very rude of me, and I apologize. Because that kind of dawned on me. It's like, this is it. This is me playing these games and you watching. It's not like a normal game where you're watching four, people playing with each other and talking back and forth. You're just kind of watching me go. So it's like, why not? I can't interact with you, obviously, but at the same time, I hope you're doing well. How's it going? Trying to make it a little more personable. And, I'm not going to have a gimmick for this channel other than the playing by myself. That's basically the only gimmick. But still, so we can always try to make it a little better for you guys or a little more interesting. Untap, upkeep, draw, play a swamp, and we will go ahead and tap all three to play Karumonix the Rat King, a 3/3 with Toxic 1. Other rats you control have Toxic 1. When he enters the battlefield, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal any number of rat cards and put them into your hand, with the rest in the bottom of any order. Okay, that's a pretty big whiff. I only have 1 rat colony in my hand, in those top 5, so I'll put that in my hand. The other 4 cards go on the bottom of the library. But rat colony is getting a boost of +1/+0 because there's now another rat on the field. That is a 3/1. Now, of course, part of the problem with this deck is the 1. It's the weak little butt. So I can ramp them up and make them really big rats, 7/1, 7/0s, 8/0s, but then they can't get through. So I'm trying to work on the deck to find ways to either utilize them dying, make some sort of like leave the battlefield effects, or give them trample, or beef up the backsides as well. We'll go ahead and swing. I don't want to bother. Well, we could swing at Sheoldred as well. Again, he made everybody discard a card, and there's the Lightning Greaves, which are obviously going to go on, which is going to make it a lot more difficult for anyone to target a destruction Sheoldred, but I will lose the rat colony in response if they block. So we'll go ahead and send it over here. 1, 2, 3. Because mill is not good either, and we don't want to start milling a ton of cards. We'll pass. Untap, upkeep, draw. Snow-covered island for turn. And we're going to go ahead and go 1, 2, 3. Staff of the Mind Magus. Whenever you cast a blue spell or an island enters the battlefield under your control, gain a life. But that's all we can do. We'll pass. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Swamp for the land. Tapping all 4 to play Sheoldred, the Apocalypse. Now, no one has any open mana, so while there might be some answers, no one can play them. Sheoldred the Apocalypse, 4/5 Death Touch. Whenever you draw a card, you gain a life. Whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. I will now move to equip Lightning Greaves. No responses. Equipped creature has Haste and Shroud. So, now because it's on the battlefield, we do know that Dream Shackle, on the beginning of combat on their turn, they can cause something to not untap. Now, they can also tap something down, but here's the thing. If we swung out with Sheoldred, they could just tap Liliana's Spectre down and swing in it. Well, then again, they're unblockable. So it doesn't really matter about that. So they probably would tap Sheoldred down so that it can't untap and probably just continue to do that to keep Sheoldred on the lock. Whereas having a 4/5 Death Touch up for blocking is probably the better option right now. So we will go to combat. However, we do have a Liliana Spectre that we can, and is flying. So, kabosh. We're going to send that back at you. 1, 2. All right. Nothing we can do else. We're going to pass. Now, you may be saying, it's turn 4. I don't see anything special other than maybe some Lightning Greaves. Agreed. The other card is coming on the next turn. And it's not like some game ender. It will take time. But it's an extremely good card for Sheoldred to have. And having it on turn 5, 4 would be better. Of course, if I had some sort of like Soul Ring out or something on turn 1 or 2, then get Sheoldred out on turn 3, then the next card on turn 4 would be better, but you'll see how important it is. We passed over here, we untap, we upkeep, we draw. Play an island for turn. We'll tap 1, 2 to play Frostwalker. Whenever it becomes a target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. Now I have to be cognizant of that because that means I can't equip it with anything. Because that's any kind of spell or ability, you just immediately sacrifice it. I will also tap another 2 to play Cloak and Dagger. It's a rogue equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and has Shroud. Whenever a rogue creature enters the battlefield, or comes into play, you may attach Cloak and Dagger to it. Equip cost of 3. So we're definitely going to go to combat. So on combat, we can tap something down. And I guess it doesn't matter, because if we tap Sheoldred down, it doesn't help. It doesn't matter for us. We're going to get in no matter what. But that does entice everyone else to swing in. And that is probably the best option. So we tap down Sheoldred, and then we go swinging in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So Sheoldred might not even get the chance to do anything, so maybe this game won't be super quick. We'll pass turn. I should know better by now. Every time I start to predict something, it never happens that way. Untap, upkeep, draw for turn. Play the land we drew. I will tap 1, 2, 3 to play Phyrexian Arena. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and you lose a life. Put that there to make sure we remember. And we are going to move to combat. Did someone get through? Shoot, shoot, shoot. I didn't swing the rat because or did I untap it? I did. I swung the rat over here, which means they have a poison counter. Because that's what Toxic 1 means. The rats give 1 poison counter. So I need to keep track of that. I'm going to use this fancy, like, I don't know what it's made of, but fancy poison token that I got from the Baltimore Command Fest I just went to. And we will put 1 right there. So what I'll do is, like, as they get poison counters, if they get poison counters, we'll put the dice on those corners to show which one's got what. Now, we're going to move to combat. However, the point is, I mean, Sheoldred's out, and I totally didn't even do the thing. How stupid. -2. -2. Trying to go a little too fast. My apologies. So yes, Sheoldred is doing damage. We don't know what is in their hand. It doesn't matter. They made us discard. Now they're making us take damage. And because I stupidly played Phyrexian Arena, I'm going to take even more damage. So we're absolutely swinging in at you. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 of it is commander damage, but you now have 2 toxic poison counter damage. We can go ahead and put the 3 commander damage right here, I suppose. I'm not sure if that's going to matter, but we'll see. That's all we can do. And then we pass over to here. Untap, upkeep, draw, take 2 damage. The whole point of everything. Play an island for turn, and then play an island, so I gain a life. Then 1, 2, 3, and play Brewback the Grandiloquent. It's a blue spell, so I gain a life, but he is a 1/4. If an opponent would mill 1 or more cards, they mill twice that many instead. The classic and common mill commander, but as most of my commander decks, I saw that and thought, oh, that's fun. I can do something with that. And then afterwards, and talking to my friends, they're like, oh yeah, that's everybody uses Brewback for mill. It was like a big commander deck, 6 years ago or 4 years ago or whatever. I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know. If that's all we can do over here, though, we will pass. Okay, untap, upkeep, upkeep trigger. I get to gain 2 life. Well, not upkeep trigger. Sorry, untap, upkeep, draw trigger. I gain 2 life. Going to play a swamp for turn. We will then. Oh, shoot. Ugh. Stupid, stupid, stupid. The whole point of this stupid freaking lightning greaves is he can't be the target of spells or abilities, which means the Geist's ability of tapping him down wouldn't work. Which means he wasn't open. It was like this. I could have still swung both in, but one of them would have gotten through, but Sheoldred would absolutely block the commander. 4/5 death touch versus a 3/3. That would blow up, and the 2/1 would hit. So it would be stupid for Max to send both over here. So that does not happen. And he's going to gain 5 life back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow. My apologies, guys. Definitely going too fast and not thinking about what's on the field and the interactions. So to that end, would I have sent these somewhere else? Because at that moment, you did not have anything on the field. And you did already have one from the last time. So with toxic slash poison slash infect slash whatever, poison counters, similar to commander damage, you want to focus it. I was going to go after here and focus it, but that makes sense. So I believe, however, that would leave us open, blah, blah, blah. I think the smart move would have been to send this over to you because Mill is just as dangerous as Sheoldred at this point. Because we knew they were going to play Brewback on their turn. Their next turn, they can start dropping Mill spells and doing all kinds of craziness. And depending on how well versed these particular players are, if they realize that Maddening Cacophony is a thing, they're going to assume it's in that deck. So it's kind of a race against time to get before they draw that. So yes, 5 damage to you, I'm afraid, and 2 extra poison counters, upping you to 3. 10 poison counters and you lose the game. However, they are wide open. So let's see if I can maybe play this right from now on. So as I was trying to do, I tapped 4 mana to then play Thran Dynamo. And I will tap Thran Dynamo and the last land to play Teferi's Puzzle Box. That's the other one from my opening hand that made me stop whenever I drew them all. It says, at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player puts the cards in their hand on the bottom of their library, then draws that many cards. That player draws his or her card for the turn first. This is where Sheoldred just goes crazy and really does a lot of damage to everybody. I'm not going to, well, this was all untapped. I can attack. I don't have this commander damage, by the way. I could swing out with my flyer. It would hit anybody. Nobody has flying. Well, they do, but that's tapped. So I think I will send it this way again. The damage is very small currently, but they've got buffs already coming out, and it's going to be unblockable. It doesn't matter. We know this character is going to just nonstop come at this character while rats take out the other main threat. And then theoretically, it would be a battle between those two. We're going to pass. We untap, we upkeep, we hit our draw step, and Teferi's Puzzle Box triggers. So we draw for turn. We have 4 cards in hand, one of which was Cyclonic Rift, and we just drew our one and only Ristic Study. Not fair, and this is our one and only. I think I might have 2 Ristic Studies, but this is my only Cyclonic Rift. Of course, to the bottom of the library it goes, and then we draw 4 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, taking 2 damage each for a total of 8. 8 damage. Kaboom. I will tap 1 to play Darksteel Axe. And I will tap 2 to equip it to Dream Shacklegeist. Regrettably, that's all I can do because I didn't have any lands in those 4 cards. I know this does the same general thing, but it does do the same thing. +2, +0, +2, +0, but this one was cheaper to get on and an extra equipment. So now next turn, I can play the other equipment in my hand and maybe even equip both of them. We'll see. At this point, I think everyone knows Sheoldred is the threat. Mill could be a threat depending on what they play, but everyone's looking over here. And I don't think anyone's really going to come at Unblockable, especially since they're the biggest way to get to Sheoldred. So they're going to take the gamble and swing the board at Sheoldred. Unblockable can't do anything about it. So it's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 damage. 10 down to 27. Good solid hit. There's no after effects. We're going to pass. Now, we're going to untap over here. Upkeep. We're going to... Oh, there is an upkeep trigger. Oh, yeah. Beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and lose a life. That's not good. So we draw a card, lose 2 life, then lose another life. Then we go to our draw step. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We draw for turn 6. Ooh, that's bad news. 6 cards. Nope, 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 not there. 6 cards go to the bottom of the library, and we draw 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, taking 12 damage. We're going to play the land for turn. Oh, wow. I got a bunch of cards that make me draw cards. Not optimal in this pairing. All right, I'm going to tap 1, 2, 3 to play Fleshbag Marauder. Well, okay, so let's walk through it. The thought process from this perspective is to get rid of one of those things. Fleshbag Marauder says whenever it enters, each player sacrifices a creature. I would sacrifice Fleshbag. It would force them to sacrifice Brewback, and they can't even recast it unless they have another land. They would, of course, get rid of the Spectre, and they would probably get rid of the commander to just recast it because it's a quick commander cost. So it's really going to hurt these two. Well, it really hurts them, kind of hurts them. Now, granted, those are the 2 threats. From this perspective, those are the 2 biggest threats, although all that unblockable is not good to see either. I think they'll do it. I think they will just, that's what they'll play. Brewback players probably getting salty, like, yo, what the heck? I didn't even do anything yet this game. It's like, sorry, I got to try and slow down 50,000 unblockable damage and Sheoldred over there. Let me make sure I don't have anything that destroys artifacts. Nope. All I have is stuff that draws me cards, and that will just quicken my demise. So I will sacrifice Fleshbag. You have to sacrifice Brewback, and it now costs 2 extra to cast. You will sacrifice the Spectre, and as we said, you will sacrifice Tetsuko, which also is 2 more to cast. See, now I would feel really bad if I swung them both at you. So I will swing them both at you. So you're going to take 5 damage, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 2 toxic damage. There are 2 poison counters, essentially. 2 toxic hits, but 2 poison counters. Yeah, I have a 2-drop, but it's very, very bad. And I'll show you. It's Night Whisperer. You draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life, so I would end up losing 6 life playing that card. Not a good idea. We're going to pass. Untap, upkeep, draw for, well, hang on, upkeep, draw step. Beginning of our draw step, we draw our card for turn, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 again. Go on the bottom of the library and draw 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is 12 damage. Down to 20. I got a land. I play a land. I gain a life. All right, I got a good card that might get rid of Sheoldred on the next turn. So we're going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to recast Brewback. We've passed the blue spell, so we will gain a life, but that's all we can do. Yep, as I've said, I think Brewback's got the way to get rid of Sheoldred on this next turn, on Brewback's next turn. So that was an impressive game for Sheoldred. But I say that, we don't know what he's going to draw, Sheoldred, so we'll see. We're going to pass. Because point of order is that Teferi's Puzzle Box hits every player, not just the opponents. So we untap, we upkeep. No upkeep triggers. We're going to draw for turn, drawing a swamp, and then we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We do have Sanguine Bond, which would have been really nice, but whatever. 4 cards go on the bottom of the library, and then we draw 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, not looking good. We're gonna tap 1 for a Soul Ring. I'm going to play Gyre Reach Sanitarium. It's a really good land for this deck. It taps for a colorless, or you can pay 2 and tap it. Each player draws a card, then discards a card. I will then tap 1, 2, 3, 4 to play Cackling Fiend. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. Now, this will help them, so I guess that's true. We should probably take a moment and think about that, because by making them discard, they will have less cards to draw off of Teferi's Puzzle Box, and therefore take less damage. And since it's, each opponent discards a card, they get to choose, so they're not going to get rid of their best one. Now that I think about it, the card's great, and I love that aspect for this deck. I'm causing people to draw cards. I want to get them discarded so they can't be used against me. However, under the situation of Teferi's Puzzle Box, we want them to have as many cards in their hand as possible. So to that end, we will tap Soul Ring and then tap Gyre Reach Sanitarium. Each player draws a card, then discards a card. So they'll still discard, but at least it gets one hit in before it happens. So, oh, and I forgot to gain all the life. That would have been 8 life. Still missing triggers, unfortunately. But yes, I draw a card off of what I just did, and that is 1, 2. More discard. I suppose I will have to rethink that. Well, I'm not going to get rid of the discard, because it's really Teferi's Puzzle Box is the only thing that really goes against using the discard. But anyway, let's keep doing that. This person draws a card, 2 damage, and then they have to discard. I will discard that equipment. You know what? It's probably for the best. Draw a card, take 2 damage. It's a land, we'll discard that. Draw a card, take 2 damage. We'll get rid of Palladium that we drew. I'm very tempted to swing Sheoldred in there, but we don't know what's in that hand. There's a really good card in that hand that's going to kill him. Sheoldred doesn't know that. There's no play, and that would just leave us open to the rats. We're already going to get hit by the unblockable damage over here. There's no reason why we would do that. So we're going to pass. Untap. Upkeep. Draw step. So we draw for turn. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 cards go on the bottom. Draw 4, 1. Well, sorry. No. Shoot, I've been doing that wrong, haven't I? Because how does it say? It's like that player draws his or her card for the turn first. Yep. So we drew return, taking 2 damage, and then we dumped 4 on the bottom, right? Yes, I think it was these four. So then we draw 1, 2, 3, 4, taking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. So now that I've caught that screw up, wow. Not going to lie, people, I'm halfway tempted to scrap the episode and start over, but there's no point now. It's fine. The point being, we've only gone around to doing it once, so that's an extra damage, 2 damage there, extra 2 there, extra 2 there. Because they draw the card, take the damage, and then put them on the bottom and then draw all the cards. We just missed that first damage step. We will play an island for turn, tapping 1, 2, 3, 4 to recast the Zuko. Unfortunately, that's all we can do with 1 mana open. So we will then move to combat. I can tap something down, but that's immune. What does it say? At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose up to 1. So we just don't choose any of them. Because there's no point in tapping down Brewback, as that wouldn't benefit anybody. Swing 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 damage. I love that Unblockable is finally doing serious damage and doing what it's supposed to be. It's just up against a crazy, decent situation with Sheoldred. There's no kind of end step triggers. We're going to go ahead and pass. So now let's do this right. Untap, upkeep trigger. I draw a card and I lose a life, so take 2 and then 1 more. Then I draw a card for turn, take 2 damage, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 again goes on the bottom, and I draw 6, taking 12. Oh, wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Play a swamp for turn. Tap 2 for a rat colony. Tap 2 for a rancid rats. A 1/1 with death touch, and it can't be blocked except by creatures with, or can't be blocked by creatures with greater power. That now means rat colony is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 5/1 with toxic 1. I have 2 mana open, which is not enough to do anything, and the card in my hand is a draw spell anyway, which I don't think we want to do at 2 life. I'm tempted to swing in and just go, I'm going to go down fighting, but he might, I mean, first of all, he could just let it go through and even take the poison. It would be 2 poison and 5 total damage. They're at 28. They're going to gain a bunch of life on their next turn. Anyway, assuming they make it past Brewback, which I don't believe they will, I think they're just going to hold. Try and hold the line, rats! That was a really horrible version of chittering. I don't know. We're going to pass turn. We're going to come over here. We're going to untap. Oh, what was I thinking? The whole wheeling away effect. It doesn't matter that he's got an awesome card in hand unless he gets Mana and Cacophony, which is a possibility. That thing won't hurt. Oh, look at that. I was all worried for nothing. Anyway, untap, upkeep rather, draw trigger. We draw a card for turn, take 2 damage. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Unfortunately, cut your losses was the one I was going to do. That is one of the 6. It now goes on the bottom of the library, and we draw 6 cards, taking 12 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nope, it's not in there. Play a land for turn. I do gain a life. Ooh, that could be helpful, sort of. Oh, okay. I'm going to take that back because, again, before you play things, and this is me, but a piece of advice for everyone. When something like this happens, when you're drawing a bunch of cards, or even if you just draw for turn, look at the cards you drew before you play. You may have an idea in your head, if I'm going to play this on my next turn, don't just go into it because there could be a better option. I'm going to tap 1 to play Hedron Crab, which gains me the life because it's a blue spell. Then I will play the land, gaining another life. And whenever a land enters the battlefield, target player puts the top 3 cards of their library in their graveyard with Brewback out. It's going to be 6 on you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, that's a good one. 6. Ooh, and Howling Mine too. We'll tap 1, 2, 3 for Sphinx's Tutelage. This one could be good. Whenever you draw a card, haha, target opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard, which goes to 4. And if they share, yeah, if they're both non-land cards that share a color in a mono black deck, repeat this process. And since he's going to be forced to draw a whole bunch of cards, we're gonna like stop and do it, like stop start, because it's gonna be draw for turn. You mill 4 cards and keep doing so until you hit, you know, 3 lands basically, or some artifacts that stop it. Then, and he's got 1, 2, 3 in his hand. So to that end, I might not. I was gonna play Grind Clock, but I guess the smart thing is actually to save that because you're gonna want to discard as many cards as possible. Because theoretically, they might legitimately mill out before I kill myself with the draw damage. Let's see. Shoot, what was my life total at? I think I was down to what, 4, then 5, 6, and that's a 7. So in that case, I think I'll do this. I'll tap 2 for Marit Lag's Slumber. It's a legendary snow enchantment. It's a blue spell, so I gain a life. Now I know what I just said about keeping them, keeping the cards, but that's a life gain. I kind of need that little bit of extra life gain. You know, Grind Clock is colorless. It wouldn't have gained me a life if I played it. So I think that was the best use of my mana. All right, it's going to be super down to the wire. But this is interesting. It's really gonna come down to these two because they're gonna die on Sheoldred's, pass turn. But we'll see. We are passing turn from here. Over here, we untap, upkeep, and we go to draw step. We draw a card. We gain 2 life. Oh man, another good one that really would have really helped. We now have 4. They go on the bottom in any order. Draw 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Darn it. Gaining 8 life. If we're going to play a land for turn, we're going to tap this and tap Gaia Reach Sanitarium. Each player draws a card, then discards a card. We're going to draw a card. Boom, boom, all the way back up to 40. And we will discard the land. Over here, they draw a card, 2 damage, and then they got to discard. Guess we'll discard the island. I mean, it doesn't really matter because they're going to wheel it away anyway, but whatever. Draw a card. Boom, boom. No! Dead. And then over here, draw a card, take 2 damage, get rid of the snow-covered island. But again, like I said, it's going to get rid of. And then back to Sheoldred. Now, unfortunately, we don't really have. Okay, this could help. This could help. So we're going to tap for 3 into black. Dogged Pursuit. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. I'm then going to tap for a Nat Miser. It's a 1/1 creature, Rat Shaman. Each opponent's maximum hand size is reduced by 1. Now, instead of having a maximum hand size of 6, you can only have, or 7, you can only have 6. Again, this is part of the whole, under normal draw circumstances, trying to get rid of all the cards we're helping them to draw. It's not the best with Teferi's Puzzle Box out, but it's fine. It's not going to worry until it's their end step anyway. And finally, we will tap 2 to play Mind Crank. Whenever an opponent loses life, that player mills that many cards. Little mill action back to you. I could, of course, try to swing in. This is an enchantment, not a creature. And I didn't really read the slumber thing, but it's just, I put it up on screen so you could have read it. Yeah, we don't have enough snow-covered permanents for that to flip anyway. There's nothing yet, but anyway, they can't stack block to kill it. Well, they really can't take the damage because then they would die. We don't have to worry about them because we're back to 40 life. They can't theoretically, they can't get us even with their unblockable. So putting the pressure on them is a good idea. That might be Sheoldred's saving grace to win this. Because that Sphinx's tutelage is going to screw over Sheoldred being a monocolor deck. We're going to push the advantage, and we're going to swing in a 4/5 at you. Death touch. Now, you can stack block it. It doesn't have trample, so you don't need to stack block it. So you can, oh, that's true. They can just chump block it with Hedron Crab. So I don't know that that really helped much. I was thinking they'd have to sacrifice this or take the 4 damage, but yeah, there's no haste, and Shroud doesn't give it any kind of weirdness to get through. Meh, that wasn't as good as I thought it was going to be. Never mind, I misspoke. But all right, we're going to move to our end step. Each opponent is going to lose a life, and then I'm going to gain a life. And whenever an opponent loses life, that player mills that many cards. So you mill 1 card, and you mill 1 card. We will now pass and pretty much win the game against this character, at least, because it's untap. Upkeep, we draw a card. 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 goes on the bottom. Draw 4. Go to -6. 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, we are drawing those cards, but there's no instance. And you'd have to do it in order. It's like draw the card isn't an instant, no, take 2 damage. Draw the card isn't an instant, no, take 2 damage. You can't just draw all 4 and be like, well, I play this. But there you go. Unblockable. Kaboosh. Dead. This is it, folks. It's the showdown of showdowns. Sort of, kind of. Freaking Mill, man. Mill's a force to be reckoned with. I actually try not to play it all that much anymore because it's an immediate target for one thing. Everybody always it comes at you. It's like Infect, Mill, Slivers, and like those are the big ones I could think of where it's like you just are immediately target number 1 the second that the game starts, regardless of what you're doing. And then also things like Sheoldred, of course, especially if you get something good out, then it's arch enemy. So we untap, we draw a card for turn, and we begin our draw step. So we draw a card, take 2 damage. But whenever I draw a card, target opponent puts the top 2 cards of their library into their graveyard, which is going to be 4. And if 2 non-land cards share a color, you repeat the process and keep going. This is where Mill is probably going to squeak out some ridiculous win. 1, okay, 2, 3, 4. Ho, ho, ho. A whiff on the first one. Because that's 2 lands, an artifact, and a black creature. So Sheoldred just was like Matrix style dodging the old bullet on that first shot. So we have 3 cards in hand. They go on the bottom of the library, and now we draw 3 cards. Draw a card, taking 2 damage. If they survive without milling through their deck, they're going to win. So we'll see. So we'll draw the first of 3 cards. That triggers Sphinx's tutelage. Land. Oh, 3 lands and a artifact. Whiff. It does not repeat. Groovax like, curse you, Sheoldred, to the depths of hell. Because then we draw card number 2 out of the 3. Bing, bing. We're dead. I have to admit, I'm not 100% sure about the whole stake-based action thing. I don't know if, like, it still triggers. Because when you draw a card, and then when an opponent draws a card, they take 2 damage. So they probably both are part of the thing. So I think we're going to do it one more time just to be fair in case. Please, again, guys, let me know in the comments how that stack would work. It's not part of the stack, but it is. I think it is. But it's like, so it goes on the stack because there's 2 triggers off of drawing a card. They take 2 damage and the opponent has to mill. So I would imagine that they kind of go like they can kind of either the player who has priority can choose, or it goes on the stack as you take damage and then milling the cards goes on top, so it gets resolved first. So in either case, they're going to want Sheoldred to resolve it first. So, one, it's land, land, black creature, land. Oh my gosh, it doesn't matter. Boom. The 2 damage hits, putting Bruvac at -1. Kaboosh. Wow, that was pretty impressive. I mean, I'm not trying to be like, well, look, I'm amazing, but I just mean that was fun, impressive how that came down to the wire like that, and could have had Brubeck win. That was a really fun second half of the game, for me at least. I hope you guys enjoyed that back and forth and that interestingness. And again, that was still like a really good opening hand for Children, and look how long it took us to get to this point. Um, still probably, I'm not sure after I edit, pauses out and such, it could be around 30, 40 minutes. Still a pretty decent length of a game. So it's not like that opening hand was like broken, oh my God. And again, nobody had artifact removal, which isn't going to be a thing in most real games. Someone is going to have a creature or an actual direct artifact destruction card pretty easy. I know in most of my pods that I play with my friends, 2 different groups, that would have never lasted past like 1 or 2 rounds around the table at best. It probably would have gotten destroyed on my end step, or it would have been like, okay, somewhere around here, dead destroyed, or something like that. So the fact that it lasted like who knows how many turns is pretty unrealistic. But regardless, although to be fair, because of Teferi's protection, it was milling away, not milling, but was shuffling away, wheeling away quite a bit of cards. So there's no telling. No, I mean, so I'm going to say there's no telling. I could try and go back through the bottom working of the deck, but for all intents and purposes, it's there's no way of telling what kind of artifact removal got drawn away, wheeled away, however you want to say it. I don't know. But yeah, that was pretty fun. I like that. Unblockable did really well this game, which is sad because it just got outpaced. But I mean, that was how Unblockable was supposed to be doing. You saw it hitting for like 9+ damage in one single turn. I still need to get more of those creatures out faster and more equipments out faster. So it needs better mana rock ramp and more draw spells. I need more draw in there. Now, of course, that was one of the problems with Rat Colony. We drew into a bunch of draw spells, so we couldn't use them. But under a normal game, this Rat Colony would have also done really well because I that one time. But I'm getting away from myself. But the point is, I don't know exactly. I think that one batch of draw spells was from a Teferi's Puzzle Box wheel, so it would have been a while to get to them anyway. Point being, there was a lot of good card draw in this deck. There needs to be more in there because that's what we need. Both of these decks need to pump out tons of creatures fast, along with the other spells that either buff them or give them equipments or whatever, so that they get through. But still, they both did decent. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I hope you saw some cool interactions that you want to try and work on for your own decks. And I will see you next time.